Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're diving into something that literally touches every single part of our lives, and that's how we make decisions. We're going to unpack Shane Parrish's book, Clear Thinking. Look, if you've ever felt like your days are just, happening on autopilot, or maybe you're constantly just putting out fires left and right, believe me, you are not alone. Let's see how mastering our minds can fundamentally shift the game and set us up for massive long-term success. Because here's the thing, the core issue isn't a lack of information, right? It's a lack of clarity. We live in a world that just moves way faster than our biology ever prepared us for. And because of that crazy speed, we spend the vast majority of our lives just reacting. Pure autopilot. But Parrish argues that making the conscious choice to step back, to actually engage in clear thinking, well, that is the ultimate competitive advantage. Okay, let's dive into this structured roadmap for our explainer today. First, we'll identify the hidden enemies. Second, building defenses. Third, the ultimate decision framework, and finally, the compounding effect. Section 1, the hidden enemies, or what Parrish calls our 4 survival defaults. It's actually kind of fascinating how our own biology is secretly sabotaging us. We've got these hardwired defaults that evolved to keep us safe from predators in the wild, which is great, but in a modern setting, they're completely counterproductive. We are naturally wired for biological reaction. That's the fast, messy chaos of reacting blindly to a stimulus, like running from a threat. But modern clear thinking, that's about creating a calm, deliberate gap between the feeling you have and the action you actually take. So what exactly are these biological reactions? Well, there are 4 specific enemies we really need to recognize here. First up is the emotion default. That's reacting based on feelings rather than logic. Like someone criticizes you and your immediate instinct is just to get super defensive. Second is the ego default, which is that desperate urge to protect our self-image. It's when you want to be right way more than you want to be actually accurate. Third is the social default, that deep-seated need to fit in, doing things just because the crowd is doing them. And fourth, the inertia default. This is lazily staying in bad jobs or bad habits simply because changing requires effort. It's kind of like staying on the couch just because the remote is slightly out of reach. To overcome all these defaults, Parrish gives us a remarkably simple, yet honestly really difficult rule. Do nothing. Literally. If you feel an intense emotional spike in a high-stakes moment, whether it's anger, fear, defensiveness, just do nothing. Let that chemical spike pass before you speak. See? Just a 2-second pause. See how much clarity that creates? Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 2, building defenses, focusing on our strengths and safeguards. Consider this concept of 1%. This is all about radical self-accountability. When something goes wrong, it's really powerful to shift from looking outward to just asking yourself, okay, what part of this outcome was under my control? Even if it's literally just 1%, owning that tiny fraction immediately pulls you out of a victim mindset and gives you your power back. Next up is self-discipline. But Parrish points out something pretty surprising here. Motivation is just a feeling that comes and goes, but discipline? Discipline is a system. Clear thinkers don't rely on exhausting their willpower. Instead, they build environmental safeguards. If you want to eat healthier, you don't stare at a box of cookies and try to resist. You just don't keep them in the house in the first place. You construct an environment where doing the right thing literally becomes the effortless path. And this brilliantly illustrates a really crucial distinction, the difference between confidence and certainty. Confidence is healthy, for sure. It's believing you can handle whatever happens. But certainty, that is the dangerous trap of believing you know exactly what will happen. It's a fantastic reminder to stay humble, assume you might actually be wrong, and always, always leave a built-in margin of safety for the unexpected. Section 3. The ultimate decision framework, where we focus on the quality of the process. Because here's the deal, most people judge their choices entirely by the outcome, but a solid process is what actually guarantees long-term success. Step 1 is defining the real problem, not just the symptoms, and finding any hidden constraints. Step 2 is exploring options. You gotta push past that binary this or that thinking to find a third or even a fourth option. And step 3 is evaluating information by actively seeking out disconfirming evidence. Trying to prove yourself wrong is honestly the ultimate hack to bypass your ego default. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how time acts as your absolute best filter. Enter the 10-10-10 rule. When you're stuck, just ask yourself, how am I going to feel about this decision in 10 minutes? What about in 10 months? And how about in 10 years? Applying this timeline instantly evaporates all that short-term emotional fog and aligns your brain with what actually matters. Finally, Section 4, the compounding effect, where we look at turning ordinary moments into extraordinary outcomes. We tend to really glorify massive, life-altering decisions, don't we? But real success is actually built in the mundane, the everyday stuff, like choosing to hit snooze for 15 minutes versus choosing to take a breath and reply to a really rude email with unexpected kindness. Success is just the quiet result of consistently making not stupid decisions over a long period. If you can just avoid being your own worst enemy in these tiny daily moments, those choices compound massively. So the crucial point is, what is the ultimate goal of all this clear thinking? Well, it's freedom. When you stop reacting blindly, when you're no longer a slave to biological emotions or the need to fit in or a super fragile ego, you actually gain the superpower to design the life you really want, rather than just surviving the one you stumbled into. Which leaves us with a really powerful question. Are you designing your life, or are you just reacting to it? Because the best time to think is always before the crisis actually hits. I really hope this explainer has given you the tools to start building those safeguards. As you go about your day, just remember to pause, breathe, and think. Thanks for learning with me, and I'll catch you in the next one.